Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic coming up very, very soon. Very excited about that. Brought to you by our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Joining us now from the Tea Party Patriots, Jenny Beth Martin. Good morning.
Good morning. It's so good to be with you.
Good to have you with us from beautiful Idaho, Jenny Beth Martin. What is the state of America today?
Well, we are going to wind up being more in debt, but hopefully we can put these it's real investigations, but into phony allegations against the president behind us once and for all, so he can finish out his first term of his presidency the way a president should, without this doubt and speculation cast by the losing side.
Well, we keep seeing that. Of course, the budget is blowing up. A lot of people aren't happy with that. But when we talk about the state of America today, Jenny Beth Martin here on KIDO Talk Radio, what is the mood of the grassroots conservatives, the people that elected Donald Trump? Are they happy?
Well, I think that they are pleased with the work that President Trump has done, especially considering the countless investigations he's had against him and his presidency. And they're very frustrated with Congress and the inability to address the nation's debt and to work towards a balanced budget. They appreciate the fact that the economy is booming, and that's because of the tax cuts that Trump helped get the last Congress to pass.
Indeed. So what do you make of the Mueller testimony?
Well, I think that the Democrats were desperate for a do-over. They wanted to do anything they could to say, hey, look, this man, President Trump, was engaged in criminal activity, and they were looking desperately for a reason, a legitimate reason to impeach him. I don't think they walked away from that hearing with what they intended at all. In fact, I think that Mueller wound up helping the Republicans a bit more than he helped the Democrats, mostly because he continued to do exactly what he said he would do in the press conference, which is refer to the report. The Democrats tried to get him to read portions of the report, and he did not do that. And his testimony made it look as if the very partisan people who were running or who were working for him in the investigation were actually running the investigation and maybe even running him. It didn't look as if he had even read much of the report himself. We still don't have answers that the Republicans raised about how the investigation started, whether the Russian government was actually giving disinformation to the Hillary Clinton campaign from the beginning that created the Steele dossier. But we know that there was no collusion, there was no conspiracy to conspire with a hostile foreign power, and it makes the allegations of obstructions that the Democrats worked so hard to try to pin on President Trump. You look at those with a much different light. Was it obstruction of justice, or was it trying to get justice and to say, look, I didn't do anything wrong. This is terrible what you're doing to me. Find a way to get to the end of this investigation. And I think that even with the allegations the Democrats wanted to have with obstruction, Mueller made it clear that it wasn't just because of the memo saying you cannot indict a sitting president, that's not why, that memo alone is not why he and his team made no recommendation for indictment.
Jenny Beth Martin joining us from the Tea Party Patriots. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So back to this point, we have this thought of impeachment. Nancy Pelosi and others say they don't want to do this, but you have AOC, Omar, and her crew saying impeach now, impeach tomorrow, impeach forever.
Yes, you do. And you've got this very radical liberal wing of the Democrat Party that is going to continue to push for impeachment. Speaker Pelosi is going to be worried about holding the majority in the House, and that requires the 31 Democrats who flipped seats from Republican to Democrat in districts that President Trump won in 2016, she's got to figure out a way to make sure that she doesn't anger the voters in those districts who voted for Trump and presumably also voted for a Democrat. She wants them to still be willing to do that in about 15 months from now. So she knows that if she angers those voters, then she won't hold her majority in the House, and she's not going to pursue impeachment. And in fact, the reports that I've read of the Democrats meetings, caucus meetings after the hearing were such that she really was pushing down on the impeachment push.
And what would that mean if they went for impeachment? How would that impact folks?
Well, first, let's remember, they just tried to impeach him and vote last week to impeach the president before the hearings. And the Democrats did not have enough votes just last week, and they tabled the privilege motion for impeachment that was offered last week in the House. That was before Mueller testified. Now that he has testified before Congress, I think the will of the American public to impeach the president is even lower than it was before last week. I don't think it will go anywhere. It will upset the Trump base if Pelosi were to allow that to continue. But and I think it would turn off swing voters, because at some point you begin to wonder, was there really reason to be so angry at the president and push about this Russian collusion theory that Democrats had that's proven to be false, or are we just acting like bad losers, or the Democrats acting like bad losers? And I think that Pelosi knows that is the risk. If they push for it, they're going to look like very bad losers, and I do not think it helps them as they go into November of next year. I think when they come back, they just finished voting last night on the House side. They're gone from D.C. now for the next 6 weeks or so. The Senate leaves next week. And I think when they come back in September, all eyes are going to be focusing towards November of 2020. The Democrats have to get through a very contentious primary still, and then they also will be focused on November of 2020. And the talk of impeachment will subside. Mostly, I think people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or the Congresswoman Cortez, and others that are very extreme will keep calling for it, but most in the House are not going to. Most Democrats in the House will not.
Jenny Beth Martin, if people want more information about the Tea Party Patriots, what can they do?
They can go to teapartypatriots.org. Again, that's teapartypatriots.org.
You have a good day.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Brother Pete, Mountain Home, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Kevin, I have a suggestion that will do two things. It may cut down on the stoned driving of people going over to Ontario and bringing their marijuana back into Idaho, and it's a way for somebody in Ontario to make some pretty good money. All they have to do is set up with binoculars or a spotting scope where they could see the parking lot of the marijuana dispensary over there, write down Idaho license plates in the parking lot, and call the Idaho State Police hot tip line for their anonymous reward. What, $1,000?
I think we should give them a commission, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could make, heck, all you do one a week, you got $52,000. If I lived in Ontario or even over here in Idaho where I could get there quickly, I would think that would be a pretty good little sideline hustle for people.
Well, what do you make of this, though? They're celebrating the weedology in Ontario, and people say negative. No, it's not negative. We're not here to promote law breaking. That's it. I love how people in the sanitized world that we live in, Pete, they label everything. Well, you're being negative. Like, well, you're getting mad. No, I'm just intense and I care.
Well, and, you look at the difference in, from what I've read, marijuana back in the 60s and 70s was like 3 or 4% THC. And now it's what, 20 or 30%?
Yeah.
And yeah, that guy that called in and said, you're going to get more people dying in traffic accidents because people think that, I'm cool on marijuana. I'm more careful. Well, it's like being on your damn cell phone and texting when you're driving. You're not watching what's going on. They're going to be running over little kids on bikes. They're going to be.
Unfortunately, that happens right now. We can't handle safety on our roads without marijuana.
Yeah, can you imagine somebody stoned driving through traffic in the morning or the evening when it's, you never know when somebody in front of you is going to have to jam their brakes on.
Or it's late at night, you're working late, and then you got to worry about Doobie Dan smacking you, swerving into his lane. I don't know how many times I've almost been hit because people are texting and driving.
Oh, yeah. And now they'll be texting and driving and stoned. Texting about how great it is to be stoned. I mean, good Lord. But, yeah, I think for those who are listening in Ontario or near the border, here's a way to make some money. Just write down those Idaho license plates in the parking lot and call the Idaho 1-800 whatever criminal hot tip line and get your anonymous reward.
Pete, thank you for the call.
Thank you, Kev. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, something that we touched on earlier, vaping versus smoking pot. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, the battle to end vaping. That's right, vaping could be going out the door. Let's go to Kenny in Meridian with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Kenny.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Talking about the marijuana thing, I personally don't have any interest in using it. I do enough stupid stuff sober. I don't condone it in any way. I do know that there have been some people personally that I worked with a guy, and they sent him home to die in 2012 and give him 6 months to live, and he's alive and well today. So does it have medical? I wish they would let him do some research on it in a way, because I know a lot more people that have opiate addiction. I heard an alarming statistic the other day I read where there are 3 opiate prescriptions per person in Idaho every year. I mean, there's enough for 3. I thought, wow, that's an alarming statistic, but that's a lot of opiates that get used every day, and it's like they're killing people, but they're FDA approved. So it's kind of a scary, matter of how you look at it, I guess. But my cousin was taking a handful of opiates every week, huge prescriptions for neck pain, stuff like that. She doesn't take opiates anymore. She does, however, use marijuana. So, like I say, Kevin, I don't know if it's helping people. Some people it helps, some people it don't. It's like a lot of things. It's going to help some people. It's not going to help others. But I think more research does need to be done on it, because if it is a medicine and it can be used as a medicine, I think that they ought to maybe do some research on it, but they won't. They restrict it.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, certainly the cannabis industry has enough money to fund the research.
Oh, now they do. Yeah, now they do. But that's half the reason why the research that has been done has been independent studies. And my buddy's friend's mom died of brain cancer in her 40s. His brother ended up getting the brain cancer that his mother died from, and he gave him some Simpson oil or something, and he refused to use it because he hated marijuana. And after about a month, he knew he had about 3 to 6 months to live. He did all the treatment. They'd give him the radiation, the chemo, sent him home, basically said, go home, get right with your family. You got about 3 to 6 months. And his brother dropped off this cannabis oil, and he started using it. He went to the doctor a year later, and the doctor about fell off his seat. He said, Rich, what are you doing? Told him, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Your cancer's gone. So, I try to stay neutral, not too. The last caller was talking about people driving around on marijuana. I hate to say it, but there have been, always will be, has been. I got friends that are drinkers, and I'll tell you what, to be frank, they scare the hell out of me, because I know they drink and they drive, and that scares me, I would say, every bit as much. And it never seems to be a topic or a concern. I mean, it is, of course, and adding to it, I'm not free passing marijuana smokers to drive under the influence, but they're out there. They've been doing it. They do it every day. Guaranteed.
Kenny, we'll examine those points. We appreciate your phone call. Thank you, sir.
You bet. You betcha. Have a great day.
You too. Coming up, good old LS first. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Liberal Steve joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Good morning, America, and good morning, Mr. Miller. Can we talk like adults? Marijuana does one thing, Mr. Miller. It gets you high. Period. It don't save lives. It don't kill pain. It doesn't do any of that magic gibbity-goo, dance in a circle and beat the drum stuff. It gets you high, makes you feel paranoid, or it makes you feel good, or it makes you feel happy. It has a lot of different effects on a lot of different people. But this BS that it kills pain is BS. There's only one thing that kills pain, opiates. And they do a great job, especially for the elderly. And as far as Pete saying, going over and look at these license plates, 20,000 not children, but adults are killed on the highways by drunk drivers. And they keep putting parking lots in front of bars. Why not sit in the bar and call in every driver that's drunk? That's what they ask you to do on the highway. In fact, they have signs out that says, here's the number, call in drunk drivers. The ISP doesn't want to waste time pulling over somebody for a bag of weed. We have to be mature and grow up. It's going to happen. It's not going away. And you say, yeah, do you want your truck driver drinking it or smoking it? Do you want your doctors? Of course you don't. Not while they're at home. Yeah, they can do what they want, but not while they're working on you or driving or any of that stuff. That's silliness. You don't want them doing meth or heroin or drinking.
It would be a great draw for people to be the last drug-free state to be the only drug-free state in America.
That's not going to happen, Kevin. It's just
we will not be overrun by the army of the dead.
Kevin, I ask, can we talk maturely, not stupidly?
We are talking maturely. I'm giving you my thought that I believe that we can stop them.
No, you won't. It'll be legal to smoke it, use it medically here in Idaho. Eventually, just like you told me for 10 years on your radio station when I called Crapo and he said Idaho doesn't want hemp and this and that.
You were persistent. You were persistent.
And I told you about the big pharmacies and the letter S. It only happens in this state, Kevin, when the letter S is going to put money in their wallet. That's when it happens, because the majority of Idahoans really don't care. They love the state. They're having a good time fishing, skiing, drinking, smoking their pot, doing whatever they want, and a few get incarcerated for it and get their hands slapped and go to fines. They don't go to prison forever like they used to put people in prison forever for pot stuff. It's a joke. Okay, they might as well just change the rules that they write them a $50 ticket if they have an ounce or under. Then we could get on with life and busting meth labs.
A $50 ticket for breaking the law.
Laws are broken every day, Miller.
So what happens if you're a repeat offender? It's $150?
I don't know. We leave that up to the legislatures. That's why we put them in office. Okay, it's going to happen. See, that's the thing. We're losing money. It is about the money. You can, I said, let's talk about being mature.
If that were the case, then we would have put in the hemp. But the hemp didn't come in now, did it? We stopped them this time. We'll stop them again.
Kevin, the hemp will be here.
It didn't happen last time.
When the acreage is set aside by the big pharmaceuticals and by the big farmers, and the hemp, Kevin, that's what I mean. You act so immature. Hemp will be growing. You got a governor that's ready to sign it and go, okay. And
he didn't sign it last time now, did he?
Do you remember when President Bush...
I'm sorry, the facts are getting in the way of your story. Go ahead.
Do you remember when President Bush, the second one, Junior, said when we were trying to get the prices back then down on pharmaceuticals and pills in the United States, and he said, well, we're much more rigorous, and we have to make sure they're okay before we let you mail them in from Canada. And at that time, I thought to myself, gee, how many Canadians die from walking into their pharmacy and getting their Viagra?
Well, a lot of Canadians die because they can't get into their medicine. Is there anything else, sir?
Oh, there you go with that BS. And how come you keep advertising that electric cigarette when it's killing teenagers.
Well, we're coming up on that. We're going to talk about it next.
Yeah, I hope your boss is listening. There's another addiction you're just putting people on.
Well, look, you've already gone after the cigarette people. You're going after the vapors, and you're still trying to go after the fatties, my people.
You know I'm a fatty.
You're a skinny fatty. You're a partial sellout.
That's because I lost 125 pounds years ago, and I ain't putting it back on.
You have a great day.
Anyway, you stay fired up, man.
Yeah, okay, man. Liberal Steve, the one, the only.
Then, of course, as we heard there, we learned that American democracy is still under threat from the Russians. And so just a little nightcap for Russians who have to be celebrating the fact that the entire Republican Party are useful idiots for them now and have flung open their arms for the Russians to come and undermine American democracy. Last night, Mitch McConnell allowed 2 measures to protect America from Russian cyber invasion. Mitch McConnell killed 2 bills that would actually protect this country. So Republicans, yes, please celebrate. What a great day it was for you and Vladimir Putin. I know you're happy about it. Good luck with that, comrades.
And there we have it. The liberal media, they are just a bunch of sour lemons. A bunch of sour lemons that their guy, I don't even want to say their boy, Robert Mueller, let them down. And then you have people, there we had Joe Scarborough calling Republicans useful idiots. The View the other day crying, begging Adam Schiff to impeach Donald Trump.
Impeachment inquiry?
I don't know. Because the facts that he testified were not new. They were from the report as we expected they would be. I was, I think, very circumspect about what we would hope to get from the hearing on that issue. I tried an impeachment case in the Senate 10 years ago against a corrupt federal judge, and we convicted him. And I have a good idea, I think, about what it takes to get a conviction in the Senate. And I'm not the least bit sanguine about that. But the jury that I care the most about is the jury of the American people, and what message an impeachment that results in an acquittal in the Senate will leave for the future generations about this president's conduct.
But is that the right question to ask? Can I ask you, is that the right question to ask? Because you just went through the elements and the facts that we know that prove what you said was, the perfect case for collusion. So if we've got those facts, if we've got that information, how do you justify to the American people not following up with an impeachment inquiry?
Let me ask you this, because Mueller made it very clear that Russia meddled in our elections. The Republicans haven't done anything to fix it. McConnell doesn't want to be bothered. Let's be honest. They are really helped by it. They're the party that Russia wants in power. How do you fight that?
That's right. The Republicans want the Russians in power. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
The National Straight Pride Coalition is planning a march and rally in Modesto in late August, and the local gay community is angry.
If they were there and they just want to celebrate the fact that they're straight and they didn't have any type of hate going on with this protest, I would be all for them doing it.
But Joey Aguilar says this is a hate group. Organizer Don Grunman with the Straight Pride Coalition told Fox 40 in Sacramento that they're not, but they are anti-gay.
A motto of our organization is normal, natural, healthy, and sane, which our opponents are the opposite of all those.
Their website says they're about life, being Caucasian, Christianity, and nationalism. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
And that'll get you talking. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Back to the calls. Craig in Corvallis, Oregon, joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm back for a little while, Kevin.
My boy, how are you?
Yeah, good, doing good. Got accepted over to Oregon State and Earth Sciences, so I'm humbled about that. It's a great program. So anyway, so this whole thing, I just caught Liberal Steve to my chagrin this morning, and anybody who's obsessed over pot, like moving over to Oregon from Idaho after being here for decades, I've noticed that most of the people over there really don't give a hoot. All it is the immature people and basically a bunch of people who are self-medicating. And I don't know if they think it's some kind of emotional win or some catharsis or something for them, but it really, I mean, if you look at it, and I'm sure you've seen it this way, it's really not that important in life. There's so many other things to address and so many other things to do. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I have a question for you.
Sure.
So here you are, once again, on our program. You're going back to school, hanging out with these kids. Do you
Not
mind if
quite yet, but...
do you mind if I tell people how old you are?
Oh, go ahead.
You're early 60s, right?
Yes.
Early 60s, healthy guy, an observer of the world. What's it like to interact with these folks? You've gotten in, you're going back, you've made a commitment later in life when most of us are figuring out, what can we rent on Netflix? You're starting a whole.
How can we not do something for the day?
You're starting a whole new chapter of your life in your early 60s with these young little kids. What is that like? And I know the answer to this question. You're not scared. You're looking forward to it. But most of us are withdrawing at your age. You're engaging and doing things. I mean, you're scuba diving. You're doing all the. You're hanging out with the young ladies. You're doing all these things. So what is that like?
I get up in the morning and look in the mirror and think, who put this young person in this older person's body? So I think if you're not doing that, if you're not growing and engaging, you've just withdrawn from life. And maybe people are to the point to where they have experienced so much pain or have made bad choices, or they just don't want to do anything anymore. They don't want to live. That's what I think retirement is. People go, I don't have to do anything anymore. It's like, why are you alive? It's such an incredible world. I mean, if you want to sit around and think negatively all day and, be angry that the pot's not here or whatever, I guess that's very small-minded, as they say in Buddhism. But I would think that there's a lot of things around. If you look around on a daily basis, there's more life than there is death. And if people are looking and thinking about death and withdrawal, they got a bad attitude, and I don't have a bad attitude. So that's pretty much my perspective on it, at least. Hanging out with the younger kids, I think a lot of them are pretty smart. I think, when you're younger, you're immature, you don't have the life experience. You don't see things. You see things, you want the obvious, you get the obvious. And I think a lot of them I've met, I'm impressed with. Some of them are, pretty superficial in some ways. Going down to 8th Street on Friday night, or 6th and Main. But there's still a lot of very intelligent young people out there. So I'm impressed with them.
Well, you'll have to visit us when you're home for break, there, young man.
Well, I'm here for my son's 20th birthday, so I don't know. Maybe we can get together Saturday or touch base or something. I don't know.
God bless, Craig. You know how to get a hold of me.
I will. I'll give you a call, Kevin.
All right. Maybe a cup of coffee or something. It works for me.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother. Can't wait to hear about your adventures. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care. All right. Our man, Craig. There you have it. At his age is just a number to that guy, man. I'm telling you. I don't know, Liberty Linda. I'd be looking for something. I don't know if I'd be going back to school, but man, it's a different world. Age is just a number. And you?
Really scary what's going on in our world today, Kevin. In almost every avenue of our world, we're having these major problems. Look at all these murders all over, whether it's in Canada, here in the United States.
I'd worry about you going out on the weekends with those kids. They'd want to party with Liberty Linda.
You just have fun with me. Anyway, goodness for everyone. Be kind to everyone. That's my motto. And anyway, yesterday when I said Mueller looked like he was on drugs, I meant medical drugs. I could see it in his face that he was he was slurring, and his eyes, I could see it in his eyes. And, the Dems it just seems to be unhappy because our president is doing good for our nation. And it seems like all they want is socialism and communism. We do not have that kind of a country. They can go somewhere else if they want that. That is not our country. And so anyway, those are the things I see in what was going on yesterday. Number one, Kevin, we do not have a democracy. We are a republic. And we know that's what we have. And so I get so upset because the Dems keep brainwashing us that we have a democracy. It is not a democracy, it's a republic.
Sure.
And another thing is what you're talking about this morning. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I've helped hundreds of people to stop smoking. I say that vaping is icky poo. How about that?
Icky poo.
Icky poo. Vaping is icky poo. If you want to quit smoking, quit smoking. Don't go from one bad habit to another bad habit. Just quit smoking. That's my advice. And when you're driving behind a car that are vaping and that smoke comes out of their cars, what is it? It's icky poo. So
well, I just keep thinking of that song "Smoke on the Water" every time we keep talking about marijuana and in the gem state. Why can't Idaho say no?
Yeah, just say no. I mean, it's bad. Marijuana is bad for you. Smoking is bad for you. Just stop those things. People are stronger than what they think they are. If you make up your mind you want to stop smoking, you can do it. Just stop.
Maybe they don't want to stop.
Yeah. Well, don't go from one bad habit to another one. That's my advice this morning. Icky poo. That's what you got to keep thinking. Icky poo for vaping.
Liberty Linda, thank you.
That's my advice. Okay, Kevin. Thank you. Have a great day.
You as well. Liberty Linda joining us. Coming up next, is it time to get rid of the vaping? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Has just released its first anti-vaping TV ads aimed at teenagers. The ads use street magic to highlight the dangers of e-cigarettes. Take a look.
Watch very carefully. Boom.
It's pretty cool. So CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta joins us now. So Sanjay, I know you probably think that these are great but overdue.
Yeah, I mean, it's always cool to look at street magic. Who doesn't like that? But as we talk about the epidemic of vaping, I think people have been long asking, where is the FDA in all this?
Is vaping an epidemic? The FDA seems to think so. The FDA is launching anti-vaping ads, or is it telling the truth?
An epidemic spreading. Scientists say it can change your brain. It can release dangerous chemicals like formaldehyde into your bloodstream. It can expose your lungs to acrolein, which can cause irreversible damage. It's not a parasite, not a virus, not an infection. It's vaping.
What'sinavape.com. Barb in Sunny Slope, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hi there. I have not seen those commercials. Those are interesting. I wish I had. Is it an epidemic? Probably. If we had, I don't know, Ebola, H1N1 breakout with as many people with it as are vaping, then we'd be considering an epidemic. But what I called about was, yes, Idaho should remain a non-pot state. And I agree with Bill earlier this morning. that we should have the sovereignty as a state to say, no, we don't want it here. But I also remember how you were trying to get, what about in marriage? Well, I think we ought to have a lot of more sovereignty than we do. I think we ought to have it in marriage and in abortion, and for that matter, in education. We should be able to decide whether we're doing Common Core and our kids are learning what we want them to or what the federal government has decided they should be learning. So, yeah. And when we just had Linda on, Liberty Linda, I'm surprised she didn't mention, since she said she was a certified hypnotherapist, I'm surprised that for all these people that are saying, well, we should use marijuana or CBD oil for pain, why she didn't think to mention that you can use hypnotherapy for pain. So if pain is such an issue, why aren't people looking to something like hypnotherapy for pain? I know I have used it, and it has been successful. And I know of others that have used it, and it's been successful. And you know what? There are really no great side effects to that. No negative side effects. So I don't see why we're going down this road of we have to have marijuana. Just a thought.
Well, the reason why we have to have marijuana is you have big money now coming in. You have the cannabis industry rightly going to the banks rightly going to their I don't want to say clients, but their representatives, the Senate, the bankers, lobbying the Senate Banking Committee we're worried about the cannabis industry. We want to make sure they're safe. So we don't want them to have the cash. We want them to, do their very best. And, we want to protect them.
Put their money in a safe place.
Sure. It's all because we care about them. No, we don't.
No, we don't. It is money. I think a lot of our U.S. representatives may not take the same stand if we had something like term limits, and they wouldn't be thinking they could stay there for the next 50 years if they pleased the right people with the right money.
And that's something that I guess in the early to mid 90s in Idaho, they had term limits. And then the legislature said, you're not the boss of us, and got rid of it. And you think about term limits. Now, again, you have a lot of unelected bureaucrats that are in power. As the money would just go to them to lobby the senators and the Congress people. But when we talked about passing Medicaid expansion, the legislature had an option. We'll just call it the you're not the boss of us provision, to do the same thing they did with term limits to Medicaid expansion, which would have saved the state a ton of money, but they chose not to do that.
Yes, you're right. And I don't know why. We have to, I don't know. I don't know how we could have gotten around that. I think we should have eliminated Medicare expansion.
Wow.
Well,
and then you go to Obamacare and everything else. And, that's why we hire people to handle our problems. There's a great scene in one of these movies where the boss tells the guy, look, I'm too busy for problems. If I'm handling your problems, then you've become a problem. That should be our attitude towards our elected officials.
Oh, I agree. I like that.
Yeah.
We should put that on a commercial.
We should.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we need to rein in this government. I just don't know how we do it. But that's my statement. We need to maintain this place as marijuana free, and we need to get more control over the things that are coming into the state. And yes, I do think that we should have state control over things like marriage and abortion and education and BLM and forestry and all of those different areas. They're not in the Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you, Barb.
Okay. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, your home for Fox News on the radio. Don't forget, we're still taking your I want to say donations, but it's not donations, your entries. Thank you for helping me with that. Girls with Guns 2019. We want your girl, her gun, to win some great prizes from our friends at Independence Indoor Shooting. Details, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Enter now.